Governor, initially you decided to not pay for the use of the helicopter for your son's baseball game and the visit with the group from Iowa, and then you changed your mind. Could you explain what's going to happen now and why you decided to change your mind?
Well, first off, my initial reaction to not reimbursing was because I was told there's nothing to reimburse for. And I've been told this from the beginning of my term as governor by Colonel Fuentes, that those helicopters are up in the air, required to be up in the air not only for various assignments they have, but also because hours are needed to be logged on a regular weekly basis by these pilots in order for them to keep their certifications. And so my initial reaction was, the state police has said there's no reason, there's no expense, any additional expense to the taxpayers, so there's nothing to reimburse. But there's a bottom line, David. You know, I'm governor 24/7, every single day, but I'm also a father. And the fact of the matter is that sometimes when you're governor, you do not control your schedule. And so if you want to try to do all the things that people want you to do as governor, and also be a father, and try to make sure that you get to as many of the things for your kids that you want to be at, there are times when it is literally impossible to do that by car. And two of those instances came up in the last week. And so the reason they're unexpected is because, you don't know, with my son, how long you're going to be in the state tournament. You win, you're in, you lose, you're out. So, we have tried to balance me being governor and the demands on that with my responsibilities as a father. And I'm always going to balance that as hard as I can towards my responsibilities as a dad. Not just because I feel responsible for it, but also because I want to. And my son enjoys me being there, and I enjoy being there for him. And so those things are going to end pretty soon between me and Andrew. He's going to leave for college in a little over a year. And then those things are going to be gone. And it's not a good enough excuse for me to just say, well, I was governor, you have to understand. Because I'll be governor for a lot less of time than I'll be a father. But I also understand that this is a really fun media story for all of you. I get it. And then you like to write about these things. And so, the fact is that I've got a lot of important work to do. I've got a $54 billion pension underfunding I'm trying to solve, a $67 billion health insurance problem I'm trying to solve. And if me writing a check for $2,100 and a $1,200 check from the state committee to pay for these two helicopter rides will allow us to focus on the really important issues to the people of the state of New Jersey, then I'm willing to do it. But I want to make sure that the public understands that I'm doing this because of the duty I feel to them to have my attention and everybody else's attention focused 100% on the real problems of this state and not the political theater and media theater that people, enjoy at times. So, Mary Pat and I wrote our check today and delivered it to the treasurer's office. The state committee wrote a check for the leg of the trip that was from Montvale to Princeton. Those things have been delivered to the treasurer's office, and I'm sure Andrew Aristoff scurried over to the bank immediately to endorse them and put them in there so we can add to the state police budget surplus.
Isn't that a waste of fuel?
No, it's not. It's what's required. First of all, sometimes they're on missions. Sometimes they're transporting people for health purposes. And there are requirements for these pilots to log a certain number of hours for them to be certified. When they're really needed, you want them to be really ready. I will tell you this, I'm sure John Corzine was glad they were really ready when he got in his accident, and those folks were there on the Garden State Parkway, picked him up and medevaced him to Cooper Hospital and saved his life. I'm sure he wasn't lying there thinking, man, were they up in the air too long? Did they have too many hours? I mean, the fact of the matter is, the state police decide what it is that needs to be done for those folks to be certified, as do certain national standards. And the colonel of the state police orders that they be certified, as I think everyone would expect they would. If we need them for Homeland Security purposes, for medevac purposes, for law enforcement investigative purposes, you want them to be doing it. As somebody who has to ride those helicopters sometimes, I want them to be certified too. I don't want them to be halfway. But here's the choice, guys. I mean, let's take Tuesday, for example. Ann Patterson, who I've been waiting for a year to have a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, has her hearing. Now, I can't control when that's scheduled. That's scheduled by Senator Sweeney and Senator Scutari. They said it was going to start at 1. It didn't really start until about 2:15. Now, I've got my son's game at 4 o'clock, which I found out about for the first time on Friday, after they won on Friday, that they were going to play on Tuesday. And I also, a month ago, accepted the request of a whole group of guys from Iowa to come and visit New Jersey on that same night. Before I knew that Ann Patterson was going to have her hearing that day, before I knew that my son was going to have a baseball game. Now, some stuff just, you can't move. So I had to make a decision. I could have missed all of Ann Patterson's hearing and not monitored it, and left early and driven to Montvale, because we're talking about going to Montvale, which is the last exit on the Garden State Parkway from Trenton. So we're talking about a significant ride to get up there with the traffic and everything else. Or I made the decision to stay as long as I could to monitor Ann Patterson's testimony. I stayed till about 3:30, and then went over to the Labor Department, got on the helicopter, and got to Montvale at 4 o'clock, because it's about a half-hour helicopter ride. I could have made the decision not to go at all, stay in Trenton the whole day, and then go to Drumthwacket for the dinner. I decided it was important for me to be there for my son, and it was important for me as a father. I wanted to be there. So I made the decision to take the trip. So that's the way your schedule works sometimes as governor. You know, you get things that get crammed in and pushed in, and people expect you to be there, and you need to be there. And so I made the choice. I think if you look at my history of use of the helicopter, it has been the most judicious use of the helicopter of any governor in recent memory. And of the 33 trips, I think, that I've had as governor on the helicopter, only 2 of them, which are the last 2, last Friday and this Tuesday, have involved any type of personal travel at all. And none of them have involved any type of political travel. So I have been assiduous about not using it. When you compare that to Governor McGreevy's first year in office, 277 times, I've used it 33 in 17 months. Or whether it was Governor Kane 1,000 times in his 4-year term, Governor Florio 2,300 times in his 4-year term. I mean, you know, everybody makes different choices. I've chosen to do it this way, so I'm not really going to change it, because I think I use it, and you'll see from the information I know we've already sent out to you folks, I use it very, very sparingly, and I use it when simply the EPU and my scheduling people tell me there is no other way, Governor, to do all the things that you need to do. And I'll just say one last thing in response to the question. We have seen the effect of this type of really silliness and the pressure that it puts on political figures result in a guy like John Corzine driving around this state at 95 miles an hour and nearly killing himself, because he's running all over the state trying to get to 3, 4, 5 different places in different parts of the state and out of state in that instance on that day of what he was doing. I'm not going to do that to myself. Okay, I'm not going to go 95 miles an hour on the highway and put myself and the EPU at risk either. So we're going to make these decisions based upon the safety concerns that we have in general about protecting a governor, and how my schedule impacts upon that. And my scheduling people work closely with the EPU to make those judgments. They give me advice, but ultimately, these are my judgments. They don't decide when I use the helicopter or not. They recommend, but I decide. And so each one of those instances that you saw that we sent out today, of the 33 times that I used it, those were all my decisions. Many were the result of recommendations that I got from either scheduling and or EPU, but all of them in the end are my decisions, nobody else's.